Hello there. Are we live? I think we're live here, right? It is Tasty Yes Tuesday. And today I want to talk to you about really how to really start hiring what's next for you. I got my coffee here, right? We're going to be talking about how to really take your business to that next level. And so if you are joining me here live, I'm just going to do a quick tech check here. I think we're on. Say hello because I want to make sure that we are live, which it looks like we are. Awesome. Okay. All right. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic because this is one of those catch 22 topics. I often hear a lot from entrepreneurs about, Elizabeth, how can I even start hiring if I don't even have money coming in? Right. And I'm like, well, how do you have money coming in if you don't have time to sell? Think about that for just a moment. If you and I haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm a business strategist that focuses on how do you create that online business income stream that really turns your expertise, your passion into an online income stream for maximum income and maximum impact. Here inside of the Hybrid CEO, this isn't just about building a business for the sake of making money, right? Like here we are compassionately ambitious builders, entrepreneurs that really want to make a local impact where we live in our communities and the causes that we care about. But we know that we got to show up online. We got to show up online because we will not only have bigger reach, right? But we're able to make a bigger impact, right? And so today I want to talk to you about what does it really take to hire what's next for you. If you don't know what the acronym is for VA, it's virtual assistant. Okay. And right now, if you're in the online business space, you've probably heard VAs thrown around left and right, right? So, VAs, I want to talk to you about really what to think about when you are looking to hire a VA. Okay. So, grab pen and paper. I'm going to provide some of my favorite resources for you. But most importantly, if you're looking to build, okay, a hybrid business model. What is a hybrid business model? Okay. It is truly a business model that allows you to thrive online, but also to still run and make that impact locally. Okay. This isn't for you if you are looking to just side hustle with no intention of really turning that side hustle to a full time business. This is not for you if you're just looking for passive income, right? And why is that not for you? Because this is hard. This is hard. I just had a conversation with someone recently and she said to me, Elizabeth, I just feel like giving up on my dream business. This is so much harder than I ever thought. And this is just her first year coming in, right? And I said to her, well, you pick your hard. You pick your hard. Working for someone else is hard. Being broke is hard. Going back to school, taking out loans, thousands and thousands of dollars to go into debt, spend years of your time to get a degree, hoping and praying you're going to find, quote, that dream job. That's hard. You pick your hard. I don't know about you, but here in the Hybrid CEO, those that are showing up, the hard that you're picking is to create that freedom online business, right? Freedom doesn't come free. Sacrifices are made. If everyone could create that freedom profitable business, would not everyone be doing it, right? So your online business, your hybrid business model is more than just posting every day on social media. It's more than just showing up on live streams and trying to sell from a live stream. It is more than just an e-commerce website that's up and running. When I'm talking to you about being that hybrid CEO, it is truly strategically taking a step back in your business and say, I'm all in. I'm in for the long run. I want to grow a business that makes money, and I want to create a business that's all about impact. I want to be the number one go-to brand and expert in my industry because I want to lead by example. I want to be the person, right, that made it. that no one thought could possibly make it. I call this first generation business owners. But because I did it, you can too. That's who I'm talking to. You. Is that you? Is that you? I see Leah here. Hi, Leah. Good to see you. Ayana, my team is here too. Right? So say hello in the comments. What questions do you have about hiring a VA? Just drop them here. Maybe it's not even about a VA. Maybe it's just hiring in general. Drop your comments here and I will be sure to answer them. Okay? So this is really about people that really want to come in and say, I really want to create that freedom business that's about income and impact. And I know I got to play a bigger game. I know I got to step it up. Too many people think online businesses is just all about social media posts, right? It's just, they think that's all they got to do and it's going to convert and lead to sales. And it doesn't. Creating content does not equal sales. It just doesn't. It doesn't. Okay. So what are some things that I want you to think about? Well, depending on where you're at in your business, okay, I'm going to talk to two audiences, right? Because I know that sometimes there are two audiences. There's the startup who's maybe the solopreneur or just starting to go into really building their online business, right? And then there is maybe the business that's been around, or the entrepreneur that's been around for 4 or 5 years. Maybe they've done business locally, networking events, right? Leads, words of mouth referral, and now they're just starting to take that expertise and say, how do I figure out how to get into the online space? Okay, so I'm going to be talking to both of you. So I want you to grab a pen and paper and listen up. Okay, so let's talk about the first common objection that I get, which is, Elizabeth, if I don't have money coming in, how do I even begin to hire? Well, let me just ask you again. How do you have money coming in if you're not working on sales-driven activities? I call those tasks, show me the money task, right? So if you're in startup, the first phase that you need to make sure that you're really just 100% focused on, and this is what I coach inside of the Customer Yes Lab, all my clients and students on, is you got to validate your high ticket premium offer. Does anybody want to buy it? And will anybody pay that much for it? And so high ticket, is it like a $20 item? Whatever high ticket is for you. I've had clients that have 2x their prices and sold. I've had clients that have even gone up and 25 times increased their prices and sold. To me, that's validation. Okay. If you create a high ticket offer and you're able to sell it over and over again, right? Then the first milestone is that you've validated that there's an offer. Okay. That's like a big check in the box. Okay. Where I see most people before they even start thinking about why they don't have money coming in to hire is because they'll try to create different offers that are at a lower ticket price point. And they'll try to sell something for $100 or $20 or $200 or $1,000. And then it'll sell, right? But then what they realize is that selling one item, one offer at like $20, $100, $200, $1,000, it's not enough to really make a living off of. It's not consistent, sustainable sales income, right? And so that's why I say to you that you got to flip the model and be focused on creating a business, creating your one high ticket offer that you don't have to sell tons of volume on in order to still hit your sales goal, right? I mean, just think about it. If your sales goal is, $10,000 a month and your price point for your offer is $100, how many units do you have to sell to hit $10,000? A lot, right? $100, 100 units times 100, right? Is that my math? Is that my math? I'm putting me on the spot here, right? $100 for 100 units to hit $10,000 a month. Do you think that's more or less effort that you have to put in to sell a product, to sell an offer that is $1,000? You only need to sell 10 units, 10 of those offers to hit a $10,000 goal at just $1,000 a month. Which one do you think is more effort? Any guesses? The truth is, it takes the same amount of effort. The only difference is you got to find courage and confidence to sell at the higher price point. Okay. So once you validated this, then you need to start looking at how to start marketing that offer more, right? And so one of the things I teach my students and clients inside of the Customer Yes Lab is what task, right? Now that you've sold that one unit online, that irresistible high ticket offer, this is where I really focus on helping my students build a business and not just be a solopreneur for life. Okay? Because success is not a solo game. Have you ever heard of any successful business person where they built their business by themselves? Millionaires, billionaires. Anybody? Even six-figure earners never built their business by themselves. Never, ever, 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 ever. Okay. So you need to snap out of it if you think you're going to build a six-figure business by yourself. Seriously. Okay. There's no BS here. I keep it really real. Okay. So now that you've identified the task, one of the things I want you to think about when hiring a VA, and I'll get into resources and offshore versus hiring here in the US, is really start to think about what are the tasks that you're spending a lot of time on in order to market your services, to sell, to create, to deliver your services that you can begin to hire someone to help you with. Now, as the hybrid CEO, what are the two things that you need to be focused on? What are the two things that you need to be focused on? Any guesses? Type this into the comments. CEO, you need to be focused on sales and visibility. Sales and visibility. Those are the two things that it doesn't matter if you're in startup, scale up, or growth. You as a CEO need to 100% consistently be focused on. See, if you're not in front of your audience, you don't get sales, right? Like people that follow you on social media love you, adore you, admire you. But if you're not visible and you're not seen and in front of them, they're not buying. They're not buying. So as a CEO, you've got to be focused on two things, sales and visibility. Those are the two things that you need to constantly be focused on. Now, when you're a solopreneur and you're first starting out, you're every department in your business. Am I right? You're the sales department. You're the marketing department. You're even IT, right? You're the finance department, the legal department. You're even operations, and sometimes your customer service. And then, and then you're like, what else are you? You're the website designer and graphic designer, right? How many of you are guilty of that? How many of you are guilty of that, right? So when you're starting out, you are all of these departments, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the trick, right, is that you got to start thinking smarter, right? Like you work really hard to kind of build that first irresistible high ticket offer, right? I hope that you've been documenting it, figuring out what your process is. As you're building out these departments in your business, from the technology to the legal to like you're building all these little assets in your business that you're hopefully building with the end goal that you're going to hire and train someone. See, when you shift your mindset to start thinking about hiring someone and do this work, even before you're ready, your flow, your processes, the way that you approach how you do that work completely shifts. You're not winging it every day. You're not waking up and then just thinking, oh, you know what? I got to sell today. So what am I going to do? Like you can do that when you first start out in your business, but eventually when you need to hire someone, you've got to train them. And the best way to train people is what? You've got to have a process. You've got to have a flow. You've got to have tested whatever marketing method, whatever sales method, whatever operations and customer service and lead generation system that helps you bring in business, right? You have to have tested it yourself and now create the process to begin training someone else on it. You don't need money to do that. You need your time. But this is often the biggest mistake that solopreneurs make because they're not thinking about what? They're not thinking about building a real business. They're just focused on that sale. So in their mind, they're just like, hustle, 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 right? Hustle, hustle. I'll just kind of hustle, get a couple of dollars in. Yeah. And then you know what? I'll just become like an influencer or something. And then the money will start rolling in. No, it doesn't work like that. I can't tell you how many influencers I speak to who have thousands and thousands of dollars, right? Or excuse me, thousands and thousands of followers. And the way that they're monetizing is purely based on social media ads. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's passive income. But we're talking about a few $1,000s per month, right? Let's say 2,000 max. That's $24,000 in social media ads that they're making. Now, if this was passive income, no big deal, right? But influencers want to do their business full time, and I can tell you $24,000 before tax isn't much to live off of. It's not necessarily a freedom business, right? And so you've got to start realizing that in every time we start our business at every milestone, we work really hard, but you've got to start working hard. That's required, but you got to work smarter. Okay. You've got to work smarter. Okay. So now that you've identified which tasks you're going to begin to outsource or to begin to hire for, usually in the startup phase, and even at the scale up phase when you're first starting, hiring a VA is a really great stepping stone before you start to build an actual team with employees and things like that. Okay. So let's start talking about now that you've identified the task that you want to begin to outsource, what are some things that you need to consider? Okay. So, the way that I think about your business is I want you to imagine a stage, right? Like a performance stage. As the CEO of the business, you are focused on sales and visibility. Where do you think that is on a stage? It is literally you're in front of the stage. You're not behind the scenes pulling back the curtains, right? You're not behind the scenes like fixing all of the different, I don't know, staging and setting, right? As the CEO to drive sales in your business, you've got to be front and center, period, at all levels, right? As a solopreneur, you're doing everything. You're pulling the curtains in the back, running to the front, right? You're then, changing the scenery by, going back there and moving things around and then running back to the front. I mean, it's crazy, right? But the reality is that when you're putting on a show and a performance, you've got to actually know what your show and performance is all about first. You've got to write that script before you start to hire the actors and all the different people to play those characters, right? And so now as you begin to start to realize what kind of performance you want to build, what your setup looks like, right? When are they going to open the curtain and close the curtain? What are you going to say being front and centered? Even your mindset and your skill set of being front and center is a growth opportunity. Once you've mastered that, at least the first phase of it, right? I want you to start looking at those tasks and say, what are the ones that are behind the scenes, the back end task that are being done behind the scenes? That's what you hire first. You cannot outsource in the beginning. You cannot outsource. Things are you. Too many times people start hiring copywriters, I think a little bit too early on in their business. And as much as I love copywriters and there's a place and time for them, it is not when you first start. I know a lot of people just dislike content, and so they want to hire copywriters to start writing. But the challenge is that when you hire a copywriter, you begin to lose your voice, right? Like they will start writing, and what happens is your content will start sounding like everyone else's, right? And so until you've dialed in your brand voice, until you've built enough online presence to really, for people to really know that that's you, you start to be recognizable in your industry as that go-to number one expert. I don't even want you to think about copywriting yet. Okay. So, what are some back end things that you can begin to hire for? So, usually when you're starting out, especially whether you're a solopreneur getting into the online space or you are a brick and mortar business looking into an online space, I want you to identify those back end tasks for them to start doing. And usually, when you hire a VA, they're going to be jack of all trades. They're going to come in, and what are they going to help you on? Most of the time, it's going to be operations and technology. Okay. Operations and technology. What are some examples of that? Scheduling social media. Okay. This is really where I want you to think about that. Like, how much time are you spending not creating your content, but how much time are you spending to actually schedule your social media posts for daily communications, daily engagement, right? They can also help you set up the back end stuff, which is like setting up, a registration page and making sure that that is going to your client database and that, the leads or the contacts that you have in your client database that you have access to, right? They can also start to help you build, yeah, your website if you would like them to do that. This is really where I want you to make the distinction between someone who's a copywriter and someone who can help you repurpose content. Okay. So I've just said to you that your number one role as a CEO of your business is to stay focused on sales and visibility. You are front and center on front of the stage, in front of the stage. That means that when you're creating content, you should always have one raw or original format that you, the CEO, is delivering it in. Maybe it's your weekly live stream. Maybe it's your weekly podcast. Maybe it is your weekly blog or your weekly personal email that goes out to your audience. There's got to be one key original content. I call this the big domino content that you are committed to creating every single week, at least once a week. This is a no brainer for those that are looking to build an online business. Okay. Then your VA on the back end, depending on who you're hiring, should be able to then take that one original content and repurpose it for you. Right. And this is really where I want you to think about, again, where you're hiring, who you're hiring for, and what you really want them to do. Is it editing the live stream and putting transcriptions on them and then just uploading it to your website? Right. Is it, taking your podcast and creating, those little like snippets, 30-second bits, and like pushing it out into your marketing, into your social media channels to promote that podcast? So those are just some examples of how you can hire someone to help you with content by repurposing it without really saying, "Hey, I want to hire a copywriter who's going to basically do all my writing for me." Right? Because if you think about it, if you're focused on just one big domino original content per week, you're just now finding multiple ways to repurpose the same content through different mediums or different types or different avenues and channels, right? And so when you start looking at hiring a VA, you want to start asking yourself some of these questions. And I want you to write this down. Okay. So we first talked about really where does the CEO need to stay focused on sales and visibility? Where do you draw the line between tasks that are front stage? So this is like front end of your business, which is visible and sales. And then the back end tends to be more behind the scenes, operations, technology. Sometimes it could also be client delivery, again, depending on what your business is. When you're first starting, I want you to be focused on client delivery. Don't yet outsource that or hire someone else to do that, right? But there are some other things that you can begin to hire other people for. Okay. So we already talked about that. So let's talk about now the question that I often get about Elizabeth, should I look at hiring a VA that's offshore or here in the US? So for example, offshore could be, workers in the Philippines or India or other parts of the country, right? Here in the US, there are also tons of VAs here too. Now, the most obvious reason why people might want to consider hiring a VA outside of the US has to do with the pay rate or the costs, right? We know that here in the US, hiring someone tends to be a lot higher than hiring someone offshore, like in Asia, for instance. Just the currency is different, right? And the standard of living is different. Okay. Now, there isn't a good, bad, or indifferent. Everyone comes to the table with this. But here's what I'm going to share with you with my experience with hiring, okay, a VA. Now, when you're looking to hire someone, even in the back, the back end or the office, behind the scenes, operations and tasks and things like that, you want to make sure that even if you're hiring, especially offshore outside of the US, that it's someone that can understand English, they can read and write, they're pretty fluent, okay? And And I want you to keep in mind, though, that you want to make sure they have some sort of westernized cultural context of just how we operate here in the US, right? Sometimes that's often underestimated when it comes to hiring talent offshore in other parts of the country. They just look at, can this person speak and write English? But they don't look at, like, does this person understand the cultural differences? That context is so key. Okay. Now, my rule of thumb is that if you want to hire a VA who's going to be more back end behind the scenes, and they can, for instance, show up in people's DMs, or, copy and paste, text that you may have written, and they can just adjust it just here and there, like take out a couple of words, or, things like that, because maybe there's a maximum character limit, then that's perfectly fine to hire someone offshore. Okay. What I've just found to be true, though, is that if you start to hire virtual assistant helpers to begin to help you with more of the front end, more of the front stage facing task and responsibilities, I prefer to use people that are based here in the US because the cultural context is so different. So, for example, if I hired a VA to help me run a launch, right, and she's going to be scheduling calls with people that register for my boot camp, or she's going to be in people's DMs, not really doing a generic like welcome DM, but really having actual conversations with people, right? Then I'm going to lean towards hiring someone here in the US because that learning curve from a cultural context perspective is just so much easier to have someone here based in the US that I don't have to teach them or coach them on kind of the in between cultural context stuff, right? Like they understand the slang, they understand, like most of the time, current events that are happening here in the US. And so that's how I differentiate between hiring offshore versus onshore. Does that make sense? So that's something that I want you to think about. So when you're first starting out as a solopreneur, odds are you're going to hire for more back end, and that's completely okay as you hire and begin to hire, people to support you on the back end stuff. Okay. Then as your business begins to grow and you're going to need people to really start to generate more leads for you, that means that they're going to need to be more front facing, meaning that they're going to need now to be part of your brand or an extended team to start reaching out to leads and making either cold calls, or they're going to need to perhaps start to be in people's DMs and helping to have actual one-on-one conversations with your audience. I lean towards having someone that's US based just because of that cultural context is so key. Okay. So that's how I differentiate between the two. Okay. So, what are some really great resources that I would love to share with you? Okay. So, I have two of them, right? Actually, I'm going to just share this one because I think this one is a really great one. So, it's called Upwork, UPWORK, upwork.com. And this is a really great resource for you if you are starting to explore hiring a VA. How it works is it's basically like an employment, if you will, like an employment platform where all the different VAs from all around the world can really post their experience. It's like a LinkedIn.com almost, right? But just for VA hired help. And so you build your resume profile. These candidates, these VAs build their candidate profile, whether you're looking for someone that might be more marketing focused or tech focused or operations focused, right? Whatever that is, it's like a LinkedIn. Okay. They build their profiles. Then you can go and basically search different profiles on different things that you could hire them for. And most of them tend to also put their rates out there so you know exactly how much, right? How much it's going to cost you. Okay. And then what you can also do if you have a job description is you can also post that on Upwork, and then people can apply and you can get resumes and things like that. Just like, an employer that's hiring, that's you, the CEO, right? Then you can start to really screen candidates and look to hire. Okay. So I think this is a really great resource for you to start exploring as you begin to do that. And I mean, this is huge. This is huge for you in your business. Okay. Because if you've been at this for a couple of years and you're still seeing inconsistent sales, I can 99.9% guarantee you that it is because you have not learned how to delegate task and hire. Let me say that again. If you are experiencing inconsistent sales in your business and you have been around for a few years and you have validated already that you have a high ticket offer or even just an offer to sell, let's just keep it really simple, and you're still not seeing the money show up in your bank account, I can guarantee you it is because you have not learned how to delegate task and hire. Because here's the secret. Are you ready to write this down? In order to get more time back, you've got to buy your time back at a cheaper rate. Type that into the comments. Buy my CEO time back at a cheaper rate. You see, you don't get an extra 24 hours more than Beyonce or Oprah Winfrey. You don't get extra hours more than, the president of the United States. We all have the same 24/7, just like everyone else, right? The only difference is that when you begin to value your time more, you start to realize that I got to spend my time focused on sales and visibility if I want to hit my income goals. And if you are not hitting your income goals and you're feeling tired and burnt out, and you're feeling like you're dreading all those tasks, it is because you have not learned to delegate those tasks and hire someone else at a cheaper rate. Okay. I'm telling you that right now. This is what I've been telling my students inside the Customer Guest Lab. Okay. Because I know that if you have validated your offer and you've sold it more than once or twice, then it becomes a volumes game. It becomes a visibility game. And if you keep telling me that you just don't have time and you're focused on, these things are coming up in your business that you have been dreading for weeks and months and you're not taking action, I know it's because you have not learned how to delegate your task. Okay. Second question that I often get when it comes to this, right? But Elizabeth, how do I begin to hire if I don't even have money coming in? Right? So this is where I'm going to keep it really real for you. Okay. If you are in the startup phase of your business as a solopreneur, I don't care what you got to do to get that money, whether it is truly getting a part-time job, borrowing money, whatever it is. If you're really committed to your business, you have to think of your business as making an investment. You can hire me as a business coach and strategist to help you work on the right strategy and the right tactics, but I'm not going to do the work for you. You got to do the work. I can give you the proven roadmap. I can give you the best strategies that I know converts and works so that you can get to your end goal faster, saving you hours and hours of headache and time wasted, right? Trial and error. But you still have to do the work. So you have to think of your business as an investment. That's why, if you want to dabble with this marketing promotion strategy this month and the next month do something different, just hoping and praying that there's going to be a simpler promotion strategy that's going to lead to more sales. And you're not even thinking about documenting it. You're not even thinking about how you're growing and how this strategy is different from that. And you're not really using that critical thinking to be like, how do I work smarter? You're always going to be trying different things and throwing spaghetti on the wall. And you won't understand why this worked and why that didn't work. But when you begin to think like a CEO and really start to embrace that you got to build a process, right? That if you were training a team, you cannot hop from one idea to the next. Your team needs you to stabilize something, right? Then you begin to study. You begin to understand what the process and the effort was in that first promotion strategy. And now that you're changing it, you get to understand why it's different and what in your process has to change, right? And so then you can start training your team to think like that, to iterate. This is not about experimentation, folks. This is about evolution. You think that what you need to do to hit $10,000 per month is the same thing that you need to do to turn that $10,000 month into a $10,000 week or a $10,000 day. It is not the same thing. It is an evolution. You want a $10,000 month, You create that bridge to hit it. And then when you want to turn that $10,000 a month into a $10,000 a week, guess what? You've got to evolve and take it up a notch. Then you want to turn that $10,000 a week into a $10,000 a day. Guess what? You've got to evolve and turn it up a notch, right? So you get to choose your hard. I'm not saying this is easy, right? But freedom doesn't come free. Freedom doesn't come free. So I want you to think of it this way. When you're all in your business and you're truly committed to truly showing up and saying, I'm all in, you find a way to invest in hiring someone to help you. That's why you spend that time before you hire to figure out what your process is, to figure out how you want to generate and create content, to figure out like how to validate that sale, right? For that high off ticket offer. Because once you sell it, you can then do it again and replicate it. Once you figure all of that out, you create processes and systems to scale with the intent of saying, I'm not going to be the department, every single department of my business. I'm going to hire extra help. You build with that in mind, and that changes the whole entire game for you. Okay? I promise you that. It will change the entire game for you. All right. So we talked about VA. So let's talk about like how do you fund that work, okay? So you maybe what you have to start off with is maybe you can't do a full-time VA. Maybe it's just, 20 hours a week, okay? And then maybe you can bump them up to 40 hours. Maybe you can't even do 20 hours a week. And maybe what you need to do is have them just work on one project from start to finish. I was just coaching a client of mine who likes to create social media quotes. She loves it. Right? So she sprinkles her content with social media quotes. So she interchanges her own original content with some of her favorite social media quotes. Okay. So I said to her, how long are you spending time looking at this every week? And she said, oh, I don't know, maybe a few hours. I said, okay, so you're focused on a few hours to maybe come up with 5 quotes, let's say, and you do this every single week. How about, let's just say you look at the whole entire year, right? And you're like, okay, ballpark, I need at least one social media quote to go out every other day. So let's just say 300 social media quotes. I don't know how long that takes. If it's taking her 2 hours, let's just say 300 quotes, one quote, 2 hours. I don't even think that's true. What I'm talking about is like the research, right? Looking at the quotes, creating the graphics, scheduling it in. So let's just say ballpark, right? 300 quotes, an hour each. So that's 300 hours. Keep it really simple. You can hire someone for 300 hours to just create those 300 quotes for you. And then guess what? It's done. You now have 300 hours back for the year. Are you following me on this? Are you hearing the power of what I am preaching and coaching and teaching you? Right? This here is about owning your leadership and running your business like the CEO that I know that you are. This is about working hard. That is required. That is automatic, a requirement. But then you got to work smarter. You got to work smarter, right? So send me some hearts if you're hearing me on this, right? Okay, so then you can hire by project. You can hire part-time versus full-time. Okay? And here's a fun one. You can even just hire if you have, older kids or nieces and nephew, you can even just pay them to do a project for you. It doesn't even have to be a virtual assistant where you're going out and like actually, on Upworks and posting a job description. I still want you to write that job description though. I still want you to write it because I want you to think of yourself as a CEO of hiring a person for that role. Even if it's your niece or nephew or your child that you're hiring to do a project for you, I still want you to write it. We are manifesting the jobs and the teams that we're going to be building our winning team one day, right? Sooner versus later, I hope. And so I still want you to write that job description because I still want you to be focused on who do I need to hire for this role? So even if you just need to get by with just, your niece or your nephew or someone to really help you with that project, I still want you to write that job description because there's something to be said about writing a job description because what it does is starts to make you see yourself as a real business. You're no longer a solopreneur trying to be the IT manager, as well as a project manager, as well as a finance person, as well as customer service rep. Like you start to really see, like, wow, I actually really need to hire people to fill these seats to truly have a freedom business. A freedom business is one where you're making money and you can actually take vacation and enjoy it, and you're still making money in your business. Because you see, as a solopreneur, when you decide to take 2 weeks off, you're not visible. You're God. And if you don't have a system or process in place or a team that's cranking out content while you're on vacation, you can enjoy it. But when you come back, you got zero sales. And then there's this whole stress of having to like, oh, start all over again happens. You know what I'm saying? Do you hear what I'm saying? I hope you hear what I'm saying. Okay. So, what did I just share with you? I shared with you my own learnings for what to hire, what's next for you, right? Is to really start to look at the task between what's, front end on the stage, you, CEO, the tasks that you cannot outsource yet are the sales and visibility. Okay. Until you start going to multiple six figures where you're going to start hiring a sales team, you can't outsource that. I'm just letting you know. Okay. I know some of you dread sales and like, I wish I could outsource that. No, not until you start hitting multiple six figures. Then you can start looking at hiring a sales team. Okay. And then that's a different conversation for the stage of your business. Right. So, yeah, I love what Liz says. She says, I hear what you're saying. It's so hard to get back on track after vacation. It is because it's hard work. Running our businesses is hard, right? So that's why I want you to work smarter, not harder, because you've already put in the hard work. I don't want you to just keep putting in hard work after hard work after hard work, manually cranking out those leads and the content to hopefully get sales. You've already done the hard work. Now you got to work smarter, right? You got to automate where it makes sense. You got to create and slow down and create the processes where it makes sense and create the systems if it makes sense so that you could hire the people to help you look after the system, look after the process while you go on vacation. You know what I'm saying? All right. So I've talked to you about where you needed to figure out the task that needs to be hired. I've talked to you about the pros and cons of hiring a VA that's, here based in the US versus offshore outside of the US. I've talked to you about funding. How do you begin to think about funding for your VA, right? So here's what I'm going to leave you with as we wrap up how to hire what's next for you. Okay. For me personally, whether it is a VA, a contractor, or a partner, or someone that I'm looking to hire on, I really think of them as part of my team. I don't make a differentiation between a contractor versus an employee. I know that logistically it's different, but what I'm most focused on are people that are going to join my team, that I'm building a team through contractors, right? Freelancers, partners, VAs, or even employees that are my winning team. Okay. I want you to build a team wherever you are in your business that is focused on sales and profits. So every single job description that you start to put together, I want you to ask yourself, how does this drive sales? And when you're hiring these people on, right, I want you to make sure you're hiring them and they are sales results oriented. What do I mean by that? I want you to bring people on that really come and join your team because they love your mission and vision and not just because it's a paycheck for them. Okay. Because here's why. You want people to join your team that are going to look at you and say, you know what? Elizabeth is working so hard. I believe in the work that she's doing. How do I take the burden off her shoulders? That's the type of team that you want. Even if they're going to come back and say, hey, I'm going to take the burden off your shoulder, but it's going to be a little bit more money that you might have to invest because maybe in order for me to take the burden off your shoulder, I can't work 20 hours. I actually have to work 40 hours a week, right? Like I get it. I don't mind being sold to or upselling to, but you really want people that come to your team that join your business that really has that mindset of profit and sales driven, trying to understand how their jobs and their task helps Elizabeth drive sales and profit in her business. And you want people that come to the table and say, I believe in the work that you're doing. So, how can I take the burden off your plate? Those are the skill sets that you can't hire for. That is the character, that is the personality, that is the mindset. And you might be thinking, how do I find those people? Where are they? Right? Are you thinking that? The truth is, you won't know until you start hiring and bringing people on. You're not going to know these things until you start to have the experience of hiring people, firing people, letting people go, and making mistakes. You just aren't going to know what you need until you start doing that. But you will never know how to hire a winning team and how to build it if you never start. Okay? If you never start, you will never get to that next level. And if you don't get to that next level, you will be burnt out, right? And you will feel like you have to choose between your dream and going back and sucking it up and working for someone else. Like you pick your hard. That's your choice, right? So that's the last advice that I'm going to share with you. I had to really learn this the hard way. I really did. Because I've built teams that, are pro bono teams. And I realized that the teams that I really, I never really needed money to motivate a winning team. Like it's not just money. People follow you because of your passion, your vision, your leadership, and your investment in helping them grow, right? But the number one team members that I just really felt really made that difference between an average performer and a high performance performer was truly the ones that came to the table and said, Elizabeth, you're working really hard. What can I take off your plate? And those people, when you find them, right, you're willing to pay anything to keep them. That's why it doesn't become about money. It doesn't become about money. But if they're not that way, they are replaceable. Okay. Unfortunately, they are. And so this is the last advice that I'm going to leave you with. Like growing my business to where it is right now is bring on people, whether they're contractors, VAs, start hiring with this mindset, the CEO mindset of building a winning team, regardless if they're part-timers, full-timers, VAs, contractors, partners, like whatever it is, right? Because you just never know. One day they could convert and become your first full-time employee, but you got to start practicing, right? The people set skill of hiring those type of people. Because when you're able to truly think of yourself as a business, you don't want to be the person in every single department in your business. You want to stay focused on the mission that you originally committed yourself to, your why for why you started your business. And if you're really passionate about what you do, you're going to continue to want to stay in the space of delivering services to your customers. And that's completely okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But to run a profitable business, especially in the online space, there are certain things that you need to have. There's an infrastructure, a foundation, a fundamental set of thinking about your business model that you need to have. Okay. This is so different than just, creating an irresistible offer and getting sales. Too many business programs and coaches I see just 100 focused on that, how to create content that is engaging, how to create an irresistible offer. But the part that they don't give you is like, how do you create a sustainable business? And a lot of the things that I'm sharing with you, are really like classic strategies that are fundamental to any business, right? They have withstood the test of time, from startups all the way to Fortune 500 companies. And maybe you're like, I'm not even trying to be a Fortune 500 company. I'm just trying to be a 600, a six-figure company or a multiple six-figure or even a seven-figure business. But even at that, you still need these fundamentals in place. This is truly the difference between continuing to be a solopreneur, a freelancer, burning yourself out, and truly creating a freedom business that is profitable, that allows you freedom and ownership and agency over your life. This is the difference. This is truly the difference. As when you are able to think, how do I begin to hire? Right? So as you're catching up on this, I want to let me know, what is your big takeaway? Type that into the comments right now. Let me know, like, what is your big takeaway as you're hearing this from me? Right? You know, you got to make the time to write the job description. You got to make the time to post in Upworks or start looking at, how you can get extra help, right? Like you got to start looking at investing in your business and not just thinking this one solution, right? The one funnel and software that I bought is going to save me from everything else. No. it's like investing in like stainless steel kitchen appliances and hoping and praying it's going to make you a better cook, right? And it will not do that. Your kitchen will look even more fabulous, but if you're not upkeeping it, you're not maintaining it, you're not learning the skills and how to cook, it doesn't make you a better cook, even as beautiful as it is, right? So we got to start thinking about like our business as a holistic entity, and that we got to start looking at like, what are some things I love and don't love? What are the tasks that in the beginning, based on the stage of my business, I have to do, even though I dread it? But now that I put that hard work into building that one process, I know it works because I've sold. I got to start switching gears and working smarter. And whether it's, taking out an extra investment to hire someone, right? That you're doing that. And the last thing I'll say too, as I wrap up, I wanted to make sure that, I'm making this very clear because I think it's very obvious to me, but it might not be as obvious to you, is that because you're buying time back at a cheaper rate, make sure that you're spending that time focused on sales activities. So, for example, if you hired someone to help you at 20 hours a week, okay, I don't want you to spend that 20-hour a week just only sleeping. That's all you do. Now you got 20 hours of sleep. Sleep is important, okay? Don't get me wrong. But this is a trade off, right? So eventually you can keep sleeping, getting manicures, doing whatever you want to do. But if you're not focused on sales generating activities, eventually you're carrying overhead expense costs that is going to now be a burden for you. Okay. Like this is like timing. You're investing expenses, right? You're spending money to hire someone for, let's say, 3 months to free up that time for you. So then you take that time, the 20 hours you got back, that you just got back at a cheaper rate, and you're focused on sales generating activities. Yeah, you want to do a couple of hours of sleep more? Go for it, right? But if you're not generating and working and taking that time and using it wisely to your advantage, that next 3 months, you will not have sales coming in. And then you're paying for someone who gives you more time back, but you're not doing what you need to be doing to stay focused on sales and income coming into your business. And you're still going to be broke. You're still going to be not hitting your sales goal. Because even though we're buying time back at a cheaper rate, right? That means that we need to then take that time we got back and focus it on our sales generating activities. So I just want to make sure I'm very clear on this. This is not, now that you got somebody working 20 hours a week, every single week, you can go on vacation, all right? Like it's a trade-off of your time, and you value your time, and you're buying back your time, but you got to take that time focused on sales generating activities. The spot or the area that I see a lot of people mess up in, and they spend way too much time, they'll get their free time back and they will start creating. They'll start working on like their next product program. They'll start creating like new content. They'll start creating something, right? And I'm not saying don't create. What I'm saying is that if you have already launched that one thing that is an irresistible offer and it's your high ticket, and you have not hit your sales goals yet, I don't want you creating. I want you to be focused on marketing, visibility, and sales so that you can begin to create that one bridge first, bringing in income consistently. That's what you need to be focused on. Not taking that time back and then recreating something else and something else. Because it doesn't matter how many products you have or how many offers you have, whether it's one or 20, you have to figure out how to market all of those. And having 20 products does not make it any easier with sales, because if you are doing your sales right, sales is only 20% of the effort. The rest is 80% in your marketing. And if you've got 20 products that you're trying to market and sell, right? Unless you have built yourself a brand, unless you have a team that's helping you with your marketing and promotional strategy and staggering how you're doing your promotions, you will confuse the heck out of your audience. I'm just keeping it real with you. Okay. And honestly, if you're not hitting your sales goals, you already are strapped for financial resources, and you are now taking really your dollar and you're spreading it across 20 different products instead of one product that is your high ticket product. And that to me just doesn't make business sense. It just doesn't. The only thing it does is that keeps you happy because you're creating. And that's fine. You can create as much as you want. But if you want sales, I'm just telling you, like, don't have 20 products, right? Build that income, build that bridge, bring in the sales, right? Then you can build your second or third product. And then I'm going to give you the same advice I'm giving you the first time. Build that one bridge for your second, third product. Stagger it. Make sure that your bridge truly is stabilized before you start building another bridge, because you only have the same amount of time and financial like resources. And when you start to do too many things at once, you're just spread way too thin, right? So I would rather have you narrow and focused and concentrated and going deep and building that one bridge from start to finish than spread thin. Okay. All right. So join me next week. We are going to be focused on next week talking about, as you know, this month, September, it's all about hiring, right? How to build a pro bono team. When you don't have money, how do you build a winning team? And so this is one of my favorite topics because I have done this over and over again and I love it. It's so much fun. But I can tell you right now, it is hard work, but it is so rewarding when you do it right. So join me, same place, same time next week. I'll talk to you later. Take care now. Bye.